What's up, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the Pot at the Palace, coming to you with not your typical Hoop Hog video mailbag daily series that we've been doing, but more of a game day preview because it's finally here. How exciting is that? Arkansas and Kansas getting ready to go after it, Bud Walton Arena. The fans have been camping out outside. I know the coaching staff and the players took some pizzas down there to them to show their appreciation Thursday evening, which is really, really cool. Man, you got number one coming into town. You got John Calipari's debut. There's a lot to be excited about, but there's been a little bit of consternation about this thing. So I want to talk about all angles of it. First of all, a couple nights ago, Bill Self was at Big 12 Media Day, and he was kind of asked about the exhibition, what it was going to look like. And I think he freaked some fans out unnecessarily. But what he said was, I think we're going to play quarters instead of halves. We're going to reset fouls after each quarter. That way nobody fouls out. And then we're going to probably do some situational stuff within the quarters. And I think people heard situational stuff and they started thinking, oh man, like, is this going to be a glorified practice? Is it going to be more or less what we saw, in Pine Bluff and Hot Springs? No, he didn't mean that at all. And I'm glad John Calipari clarified this is a real exhibition game. They are keeping score. They are going to play it in quarter format. But what they mean by situational, I think more than anything, is it might be start of the second quarter. Hey, let's both agree we're going to zone for the first 3-4 minutes, or, we're going to press and work on that here. You're still playing the game. You're still keeping score. But certain things that these guys want to test themselves at, they need to work on. And so I think that is probably what they mean by situational. And so we'll see about it. And here's the thing. Injuries are going to impact this game. And it's unfortunate, but you got to understand there are guys on both teams who, probably could be in a situation where if it was a real game that counts in the win-loss column, would be able to play. You might push them a little bit, but an exhibition, even though it's valuable experience, it ain't worth it to risk re-injury or aggravating an injury for a game that ultimately doesn't count. So from the sounds of it, the guys who may be limited or out for Kansas would be All-American big man Hunter Dickinson, Alabama transfer sharpshooter Rylan Griffin, and Mississippi State transfer guard Shaquille Moore. So 3 important pieces to the puzzle for them. Kenny Payne was talking yesterday to the media. I'm going to play this clip for you where he kind of discussed, the excitement going into this game, but then he was also transparent that Arkansas has been hurt. They've been down in their numbers at practice. He wouldn't reveal exactly who was out, but from the sounds of it, Arkansas is going to be fairly shorthanded in this one, unfortunately.
I just think it's what John Calipari brings to the table. The excitement, the recognition, not just regionally, but all over the country. Everybody's going to be watching. And to see this environment and to see how people are excited about this basketball team, even though we're a little beat up, but we're coming out here and we're playing this exhibition game, and the guys want to win. And even though we may be limited in numbers for right now, but we're going to get after it.
Yeah, Cal said, I think it was last week, that some guys were banged up. You weren't going to be at full strength, but he wasn't real specific. Can you tell specifically who isn't going to play and kind of how the roster sets up for the scrimmage or the game?
I don't know exactly yet. The medical staff will help us with that. But the guys are getting better every day. They're getting better. But we have been down. We've had a few weeks of having 5 guys in practice. So that's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. That's a nice non-answer while putting it out there that, we've been down bad in terms of numbers there from Kenny Payne. So what's it going to look like for Arkansas? I think they're going to have more than 5 guys available. But in terms of who's out, we might not know until we get out there and see them in pregame warmups. If we think back to the tip-off tour, it was John L. Davis was out completely. Melo Sanchez was out completely. Kashmir Chavis was also out, but Kenny Payne said a little bit later that he's healthy, so I would imagine he's going to be able to go. Adut Thiero was limited. Jonas Adu was limited in the tip-off tour. I've heard Trevin Brazil has been in and out a little bit lately, and so I don't know. I really don't know what to expect. The only thing that I recall them saying over and over and over when we've talked to them leading up to this is that the 3 freshmen in particular, and Boogie Flan, Carter Knox, and Billy Richmond have been healthy. And it sounds like DJ Wagner has as well. Big Z was in a boot. Now he's out of it. So in case something's happened in the last week or so, I would think those guys will be good to go. And we'll see about the other ones who's questionable. I know it's a little bit frustrating because you want to, man, when you got Kansas coming in, like you want to see Jonas Adu versus Hunter Dickinson, right? Like that's the kind of stuff you want to see, those matchups. It excites you. You want to get a really good gauge and a good barometer for where you're at. It's frustrating or just a little disappointing, I think, if you're not going to be able to get that. But I do think you got to have some understanding. You know, it's an exhibition and ain't worth it. You would, trust me, you would much rather have them when they go play Baylor when it counts in the opening week of the season there. So we'll see how cautious they play it and who they have out there. A few other things that I do want to chat about. But before we do, folks, I got to tell you about our new partners over at Razorback. I mean, the weather, rumor has it, the weather is getting ready to change. Now, if you're in Fayetteville and it's been 90 degrees or whatever for the last few days, you might wonder if you're going to get a fall or a winter at all, or if it's going to stay hot for the rest of our lives. But I think it's going to cool off. And if it does, you might need to restock that wardrobe a little bit. You got to go check out razorbacks.com. They've got Razorback gear if you want to get some Razorback gear, or just a little bit of everything, man. They've got the performance hoodies and quarter zips. I like both of those things when the weather chills out a little bit. You can get polos or t-shirts. You dress for shop for the ladies as well. You can go get them a skirt. Maybe your female friend would like something like that. But it's high quality stuff. It's really, really good. And we got a deal for you. Okay. So if you go to razorbacks.com, use the promo code HOGSBY20, not HOGSBY90. I know John has tried to coin phrase that or catchphrase that one. Not HOGSBY90, HOGSBY20. They'll give you 20% off your first purchase. That's a really, really good deal on some really high quality stuff. Promo code HOGSBY20, razorbacks.com. You get 20% off your first purchase. Make sure you check that out. I know that I'm going to. Back to this game, so then what should we expect? Like, what should we really be looking for? For me, I think it's a couple things. I think I'm looking at individual stuff maybe more than I am team related, right? Because guys have been in and out of practice. Lineups are going to be weird. And that's the unfortunate part of it. So I don't expect Arkansas to be particularly crisp, or like a well-oiled machine offensively or defensively, honestly. But how do the individuals compete? So I'll be looking at individual matchups. Boogie Flan versus DeJuan Harris, if we get that. Carter Knox, defending AJ Storr or whatever, if we get that. I've talked about Trevin Brazile and KJ Adams. Those individual matchups I want to see, but I'm particularly intrigued by the youngsters, I think. And just if they're ready to step up and shine in the spotlight, because we've said it over and over, but if you're only going to have 9 people that you project in your rotation, you better hit on all of them. They better be ready to play and perform when the lights are bright. So we're going to learn a lot about some guys individually more than we are from a team perspective from this game. But I think it's a lot to be excited about because Arkansas's got a really, really talented roster. Kenny Payne was kind of asked, like, what can you take away from an exhibition like this? And I thought he had a pretty interesting response.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Kansas is the #1 team in the country. I think the atmosphere, the type of team that you're playing, and it doesn't count. Even if we lose, we'll still be undefeated. But what it does is it shows our young guys, it shows some of our veterans just how important it is that you be ready to play, because you're not just playing against a regular team that you're supposed to beat. You're playing against a team that's one of the best in the country. And so our learning curve is going to have to be fast, and this accelerates that. We'll know exactly what we need to do from here on out. We use this term and statement a lot in the program, win or learn. Early in the season, that's what it is. It's win or learn.
Yeah, and I think regardless of the outcome, Arkansas is going to learn a lot about themselves after this game. It's going to be a huge growing opportunity for these guys, quite honestly. So I'm excited about that. But another thing that Kenny Payne brought up that I really I appreciated, this one hit home with me, is just the fact that this isn't a deal. And we talked about it yesterday in the mailbag. If it's not a situation where every team approaches exhibitions the same way, like Eric Musselman was very much, hey, deep dive, scouting report, we're going to improve our team by preparing them to win and go out there and play for it. Whereas other coaches, and I think Arkansas kind of falls into this category of a little bit more worried about themselves and where are we at as a team and what do we need to figure out about ourselves as opposed to worrying about the opponent so much. Now, he was asked about so how do you prepare for Kansas? They've got some returners, they've got some new guys, whatever. And I think what really struck me was Kenny Payne was saying, hey, one of the biggest challenges for Arkansas in this game is going to be kind of learning and adjusting on the fly against a team that is as talented and well coached as Kansas is. You're playing the number one team in the country. You don't really know what's coming. So how do you adjust and adapt in the moment? I thought it was some pretty good stuff from KP.
A little bit of all of it. We've watched a couple of their stuff they did last year. This is a different team. I love it because there's a philosophy amongst coaches that your principles, your defensive principles, your offensive principles. So we don't know what they're going to run. So our principles have to be tight and have to be on point. Because we don't know what they're going to run. We don't know what offense that Coach Self has put in, if he's changing anything from a year ago. We know he's got a really good team, and we're going to have to adjust to some things that he may be doing that's different that he may want to add to his team. So I'm excited about that. And, I believe the best way to learn is when you can't predict what they're going to do. And they have to pick it up on the fly and fight through it and talk through.
The best way to learn is when you can't predict what they're going to do and you got to learn on the fly. That's where continuity, chemistry, and that team aspect of things really comes into play when you're challenged from that standpoint. And so that's something that we're definitely going to get there with Arkansas on this one. So, to anyone who was, maybe a little bit disappointed of, oh man, I thought this is going to be really similar to the Purdue thing, 40 minutes, both teams full strength, all out. I get it. I understand that. I wish they were doing that too. But I understand, given the injuries on both sides, shorten it to some quarters. This is what they do for the red-white game anyway. Understand that if they get into some situational stuff, they're still keeping score. They're still going to declare a winner at the end of this thing. But both these teams need that. Arkansas is going to face Lipscomb, Troy, teams like that early in the season who are going to zone them. And so they need to see some zone looks against other teams. They're going to play some of these teams early on who are going to throw a press at them. You don't want the first time, Boogie Fland as a true freshman is having to break the press to come in a game that really counts. Why not get this experience against the number one team in the country and learn a little bit about yourself? So that kind of stuff within the flow of the game, I think is going to be pretty good and pretty beneficial for Arkansas on this one. And I think for me, more than anything, I'm just going to be kind of on pins and needles, waiting to see who runs out there, who's warming up, and who's actually playing. I hope we get a couple surprises and they're not super, super limited. Can we get, can we get Adu or TB? Can we get Thiero or Nelly Davis? Just a couple of those guys, right? It would be nice to see, or at least for a few minutes here and there. But you take what you can get. It's a cool deal. Now, the other thing I'll say is a lot of programs who are wanting to be cautious in these preseason opportunities and want to work on some specific things, they would just do a secret scrimmage, which means they lock the doors. No fans are allowed in. You might have a communications guy who's in there and keeping some stats that they put out later, but you don't get to see it. And so no matter what it looks like or how hampered either one of these teams are by way of not being at full strength from a health standpoint, it's really cool. And it all goes to a great cause. And I know that probably as you guys are listening to this, it'll be Friday morning sometime. John Calipari, Bill Self, some of the players are going to be out for the charitable organization that the proceeds of this game go towards speaking to those people and helping those people out. So they really take that part of it seriously. And if it's going to a good cause, you got to love it. And listen, it's Bud Walton Arena. It's going to be packed. John Calipari is your head coach. The Slobber Hog is at mid-court. And you got Kansas and Arkansas going at it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. Everybody enjoy it. And then make sure you stay tuned to everything we've got going on at Inside Arkansas afterwards. InsideArkansas.com. We're going to have plenty of written content. We're going to go live and have a post-game show a little bit after the Final Horn tomorrow night, so everybody can get their reaction in, their hot takes. We're going to do all the things. the player grades, the report card, the morning after thoughts, the takeaways, all of that. Make sure you're tapped in. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Inside Arkansas. That way you can follow along, get notifications every time that stuff comes through. Check out our written content. We're really excited about it. We're looking forward to basketball season. And then no matter how it goes, you're either waking up with great vibes and you can watch Arkansas, Mississippi State football, or you're waking up with bad vibes and maybe they can pick you up and make it better. Or I guess the downside is they can make it worse. Well, anyway, football's happening shortly after that. So I'm out of here looking forward to this game. We'll be back this evening. Appreciate you guys. As always, it's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the Pot at the Palace. We'll see you tomorrow.